Guys, it's Beast Beats, aka Crops, with Team Illuminite. We got another video here for y'all. This right here that you see is something called Tiger, or I call it Tiger Keepers. You can call it whatever you want. Basically, we have a special guest to explain this. First place from the half case goat tournament this past Sunday at Play Packets in Austin, Texas. Great store, great tournament. We had a eight total of 8 people for the half case tourney. Um, and I'm going to let the special guest, Grave King, talk about his first place deck list here.
Alright, hey people of the internet. So this is my deck. Basically, variation on Gravekeepers. The reason why I ran this deck was just because I don't play Goat as much as my friend here and everyone else at Play Packets does, so I had to do what all people good do when they are in over their heads. They have to compensate. So basically, the whole idea was to unlock a lot of the decks, prevent them from basically playing normal plays, and simplifying the game state so it's dumbed down to my level. And that's the whole theme once you go into this deck. So starting off from the monster, you got Breaker the Magic Warrior, extra MSTS card, super good card, 19 beater. Then there's Gravekeeper Spy, basically to give you both a defensive and offensive play, since once he's flipped up under Necro Valley, he gets a free monster, and a 17 beat stick is pretty decent. And also, if Necro Valley's on the field, he's basically almost hard to kill unless they banish it or run it over with something like BLS. But hopefully, it never gets to that point. Guard was a little bit weird. I guess he was just kind of there to take the hits for the Nobleman of Crossouts for Spy and just kind of get rid of problematic cards that would be a little hard to get rid of, at least for moments. Usually, the way I thought of it was that, if they have something like BLS and they attack into it, or Chaos or an attack into it, it gets bounced into the hand. And then if they don't have a way to bring it out, hopefully I can get to something like Necro Valley or put another something later online, Kaiku on the field to at least prevent them from resummoning it or other problematic cards. Assailant was pretty good, especially for my last game I played with it, and basically he's one of the better cards for an aggressiveness that I didn't expect actually when I was making this deck, but it's pretty good since Necro Valley, once it's on the field, he comes 2K, and then you just swap the attacks of whatever is on the field, and that gets rid of a lot of just annoying stuff like tokens and monsters with beefy attacks but low defenses. Going further, we got the Gravekeeper Spear Soldier, but only I have it at 1. I originally wanted to play more, but we couldn't actually find more, so we had to compromise with that and go with 3 Spear Soldier. It didn't come out more than once, so I guess 1 is fine. 2 might be just the perfect number, but it served its purpose. Other generic good ones we had were Tribe Infecting Virus. Helps get rid of a lot of just board wiping things. If we're in a bad situation, he makes it just a little bit better. Though it is a double-edged sword since there's a lot of spellcasters in my deck, and it's a very common card in Goat, but you gotta do what you gotta do, right? Next up is DD Warrior Lady, just basic spot removal, just for anything that might be in our way for, beating over our opponents, or at least dealing with threats that you would be able to deal with otherwise. And then the last 5 card monsters are the King Tigers and the Kaiku. Both of them are kind of here for the same reason. It's to just basically stop and prevent like a good amount of generic Goat stuff. King Tiger stops Tsukiyomi, the Thousand Eyes, the scapegoats from being put onto the field, and also just like other weird shenanigans that might be going on. And King Tiger just says no to all of that stuff. Pretty good stats as well, and honestly, I just wanted to not deal with those things. Not scapegoats. Tsukiyomi and Thousand Eyes, hate those cards in this format. And then Kaiku is just for the other half, is the Chaos monsters. If basically the idea was, if I don't have Necro Valley, I could at least have Kaiku to stall until I could get to Necro Valley, and hopefully stop any graveyard shenanigans from even occurring. Also, get rid of monsters so they can't be, reborn back if I don't have Necro Valley. Also, just pretty good beat stick. Next up, the Trinity. Gotta play this stuff. I don't think these cards are balanced in the slightest for the format, but that's another story. Graceful, saw it like once or twice. Pot of Greed, quite a few during the tournament. And then I only saw Duel like once, and it wasn't that good. I actually usually just sided it out for other stuff. It was just an easy side out card, especially when you're going second for a lot of stuff, so there was that. Snatch Steal, one of the few power cards I could still play in Gravekeeper's MST. Usually just to stop stuff like Snatch Steal, or just like if I have a lot of aggressiveness I want to put onto the field, usually get rid of their one back row. Book of Moon, good defensive card. Kind of hindered myself from time to time, but it was pretty nice that I could reset stuff like Spy if it's getting attacked into, or Guard. But it was pretty decent for what it did. Knock, that's kind of self-explanatory. Just get rid of all the Magician of Face. That's another card that's annoying to deal with. I just want to get rid of. My Bodies of Shield, hate this card with a passion. Really do. Especially once you're in a losing situation, it kind of just makes the situation worse. It honestly wasn't as bad as when I was testing it, but it did not occur. It did be dead in my hands for a couple of times, except for the last game where last match I played, where it occurred twice, where it stopped not against my Spies, which was pretty nice. But still, 2 is fine. At 3, I don't want it at 3 ever. 1 is fine. It's just the life points. If it was just a little bit less, I would have liked it more. If it was just a little more, easier to figure out to use, or sometimes basically I'm the advice on this card. Glad I played it. I'm gonna stop rambling on about it. Rush Recklessly, basically the little spice of the deck that a lot of people don't see coming. My friend here, Crops or Beast Beats, he likes to use this card, and it's pretty fun. It's basically as good as we'll get for a trap that's in a spell card form, so you can play under stuff like Jinzo. Pretty awesome when it's under both like Kaiku the Ghost Destroyer, or you combo it with Assailants. With the Necro Valley on the field, it goes up to 27. I can basically run over anything at that point if you use it in conjunction with Necro Valley. And then, also just like boost it with some boosting like Spear Soldiers damage or stuff like that. A lot of cool uses. Also, it's just a little tidbit. If you have Rush Recklessly and you have King's Tiger, if you activate Rush Recklessly when you're summoning something like a Spy for like a game-winning shot, you could just activate Rush on it and increase its attack so it doesn't get destroyed by King Tiger. That's about it for that card. The only other funny thing was I played a game where someone was sitting on Spirit Reaper. As soon as they flipped it, they said they at least bought themselves a few turns. I immediately activated Rush Recklessly and blew up the Spirit Reaper. That was funny. All right. And now to the last bit of spells, the Necro Valleys and 2 Terraformings. This was a bit dead from time to time with Necro Valley and Terraforming just clogging up from my hand at times. Wasn't bad, but, I'm glad that if someone got rid of the Necro Valley, I had another backup ready. And honestly, won me quite a few games on its own just because they didn't get the out beforehand. Onto the traps, just Mirror Force and Ring of Destruction, good 2-1-of since we're playing the Triple Decree. I like the Triple Decree, but still run a few traps because I get to shotgun my traps before my opponent does, and then when they try to shotgun their traps with like Ring of Destruction or something like that, Royal Decree, and then stop their stuff in their tracks. So that's the main deck. Onto the side, Death Wombat, it's just for burn, which wasn't the thing. But it was also good as a level 3, goes under level limit area A, but never ran that situation, thankfully. Zombira was a little bit of an interesting card since this was going in conjunction with the deck devastation virus you see on the side. It only resolved once, and my opponent was smart, and they cited out all of their cards that would be susceptible, their moths, their magical merchants and stuff out of the way. So I got information, but that was it. Honestly, Probably would be good if there were more games I played with it, but it is what it is. It was a good beat stick, but maybe I could have put something better. Mobius was pretty cool. It only was only summoned once, but it was pretty good for when it did hit the field. Though I was debating to keep in Jinzo or Mobius. I decided to just go with Mobius just because I already run the Royal Decrees, and then later you'll see more back row hates. But the Mobius was good just because I could get rid of spells. Jinzo would not be able to do that, so he'd still be able to get Book of Moon, which you could still be hit by Mobius, but it would kind of force them to activate stuff like that prematurely. Next up for the spell is Heavy Storm. I played Necro Belly and Royal Decree, so I don't want a Heavy Storm to the field once those are established. So it's only if in games 2 and 3 I might side stuff out that Heavy Storm probably comes in. Mind Control, just to be there, another copy of Nobleman to cross out. If I don't have Necro Valley, just mind controlling the stuff away, and if they have Moth, getting the free flip effects is pretty nice, and then just giving them a attack position Moth is pretty good. Lightning Vortex, same reason for Tribe, just clear the field. Deck Dev, I already explained with Zombira that it only occurred once. Otherwise, it was just there. Torrential. So basically, something I did in a couple of games was actually cited out Royal Decree if my opponent had Royal Decree. So, if they don't get to Royal Decree and I still have my traps, I could at least, still activate it and still use them. Torrential's just a good card. Curse Seal, the Forbidden Spell. Okay, this was really, really cool. In testing, I realized I kind of lose hard to stuff like Giant Trunade and Heavy Storm. And I absolutely hate Giant Trunade. I lost so many test games because of it, so I asked my friend these beats, what could I actually put in that didn't go. He told me there was Curse Seal, and I was like, okay, that's cool. Negate a spell, I run 18 spells, as you can see in the main, so I should be able to meet the requirements for the most part. And it's pretty nice. I think one of my games, my opponent used Giant Trunade. I got rid of that thing, and then they eventually drew into a second Giant Trunade, and that was dead for them the whole game. And then lastly, Dust Tornado. If I side out the Royal Decrees, or maybe I just side out one Royal Decree, I put it in a Dust Tornado or something. Honestly, I could work better with my sides, but if my opponent runs Royal Decree, I usually swap out the Royal Decrees for Dust Tornadoes just for more flexibility and conflict with Royal Decree since they're probably not running traps, and stop other stuff like Snatch Steal or any floodgates like level limit or what's the other one, Gravity Bind and stuff like that, or swords. So that's there just to prevent that stuff from happening. And then just a fake sideboard. I don't think anyone ever bought it, that I was playing in Metamorphosis. Speaking of Metamorphosis, pretty cool that it could also, I forgot to mention, but Curse Seal also stops that. It actually stops a couple of stuff. If there's multiple of 3-up cards, it's a pretty good card. So it remains to be seen if maybe I should use Magic Jammer, but I don't know. I like Curse Seal when it was in the tournament. So that's about it for the deck profile. Did you want to go over the matchups I went through for the tournament?
Yeah, I figure we'll kind of go over. It was 3 rounds of Swiss to top cut, and it was 2 rounds of top cut, so he went through 5 rounds total.
Yeah.
I think we'll go over the rounds and then just one last thing about if you would change anything and probably end there.
Yeah. So round 1, I went against what was the deck again? It was
Chaos Warriors.
Chaos Warriors, right? So first game was pretty bad. I kept on drawing to multiple Royal Decrees, and I think I drew into both Necrovalley and Terraforming. Obviously I got creamed that round. Sided into game 2, I think it was a good back and forth, and I managed to win game 2. I think that was also the game where I rushed recklessly the Spirit Reaper. And then game 3, again, it was a good back and forth until I stopped getting my monsters, which was only I think I only had 3 monsters. and then I stopped seeing monsters, and then I couldn't keep up because he kept on summoning monsters on me, and I couldn't do anything about that. So I lost the first round, the first match, and then proceeded to, oddly enough, win the rest of the matches to win the tournament. But that is how it is. Game 2, I played against Zombie Burn, I believe, and basically, game 1 flipped up Royal Decree. He had 4 trap cards. Safe to say, I steamrolled that game. Siding in game 2, there was a bit more of a fight, but I got a Royal Decree on like maybe turn 4 or 5, and then proceeded to basically again just keep on attacking until he couldn't activate anything to stop my attacks, and that's how I won game 2. And then so I 2-0'd that one, and then went into match 3 against my friend. What do we want to call him on here?
Smoky Dragoon, yeah.
Smoky Dragoon, yeah. He has a channel, so check him out if you get the chance. But so I played against him. It was good back and forth for game 1. No, it was pretty clean game 1. I think I just activated Necro Valley. He couldn't get out. He couldn't get the out to it, and I think he proceeded to draw a couple Chaos monsters and a couple other dead cards. And then I took that game 1 pretty easily. Game 2 was pretty funny. I stole his Don's Lug, and he kept on trying to run it over, but I kept on activating Rush recklessly and sniping cards out of his hand. Unfortunately, he drew into he Sandgan searched off a Sinister Serpent, and for whatever reason, a Sinister Serpent can be moved out of the graveyard, even under Necro Valley, so he was able to keep on using it. And it went pretty well until he flipped up Royal Decree and then summoned out Spell Canceller. From there, I think the only cards that probably could have got me out of that situation was a Breaker or Kaiku the Ghost Destroyer, since all the Gravekeepers would not be boosted. Oh, and I guess Deity Warrior Lady, but I didn't see into them. And I guess Tribe. But I didn't see into any of them, and it was too late by then. Game 3, that was the game where I actually was able to get rid of Giant Trinade from the game. He tried to activate Giant Trinade on his turn once I had like 3 or 4 back row, but it was easy for me to win the game from there once Giant Trinade was out of the picture. He just couldn't keep up with resources at that point, and I won game 3. Game 4 was against Royal Magical Library of TK. Game 1, my opponent drew terrible, and I just activated Necro Valley and just went through the motions, and he drew, and he basically continued, and he didn't win. He scooped and then went to game 2. Game 2, he won once he got his engine rolling. The only thing of note was that he activated Convulsion of Nature, and proceeded to not look at my top card. If he saw it, he might have decided differently, because my top card was King Tiger Wanghu, which was stopped a Royal Magical Library from ever hitting the field. But he didn't see it and just sided accordingly, to just thinking I might run regular Gravekeeper stuff. Game 3 opened up King Tiger, normal summoned it, set like 3 back row, activated Necro Valley, let him go, and then he kind of struggled and basically tried to get away with the little loophole with King Tiger and set a monster. So he set his Magical Library, but I had both Necro Valley on the field, and I proceeded to summon Assailant. I kind of misplayed because I attacked into King Tiger into the Royal Magical Library, and then proceeded to activate Rush recklessly. I didn't need to do that. I could have just taken 300 damage and then use Assailant to just flip it to attack and then proceed to run it over. From there, he went to, when it was his turn, he activated Swords of Concealing Light, set my monsters, and I wasn't able to do anything, but he still wasn't able to get into his engine fast enough for me to not OTK him. So I won that. I won game 3, and That was Royal Magical Library FTK. Last game, I believe it was Chaos Warriors.
Go Control.
Or Go Control. It was pure Go Control. Okay. This is the few situations that my body as a shield was good because both games started almost the exact same way. Activated Necro Valley, set a card, and then set Spy. And then the set card was on my body as a shield. Both games he opened up the knock and tried to get rid of it. And I was able to protect the Spy. And then I believe game one, he couldn't get over the Spy. And so he tried to just bulk up and try and get resources and stuff. But once I flipped up Spy, I think I was able to go for Assailant and, get rid of some of this stuff. Honestly, game one was a little fuzzy for me, but I did win after a couple of turns. And then game two was pretty interesting. That was when I put in the Zombira. That was pretty fun with the deck Divi, which went off. But again, he sided out all of his flip monsters, so it was a dead card for me to use. But the funny thing was that he was playing a pretty heavy amount of traps, and I don't recall most of the game. I know he's opened up the knock, and I stopped it with my body as again. We went back and forth, and we were actually at equal life points. Even at the same, we were both at 49. I think he dealt 1 damage to me. And then I remember he flipped my Spy, proceeded to activate the effects, and then I think he misplayed or something because I summoned out the Assailant. He tried to bomb-less it, but the thing is, couldn't do that. And on top of that, he had Jins on the field. And then my turn came around, and I lost the Spy because of being tied over by Jinzo. But I had one Assailant, and I had another Assailant in hand. And the game-winning shot, I'm glad I saw the game-winning shot because what I realized was he probably had a lot of trap cards because he had 4 set back row. I knew one was the bottomless because he accidentally showed it to me when he tried to stop the summon of the first Assailant. And then the thing was he had 2 tokens. I had another Assailant, so what I smartly did, which I'm glad I saw, was that I summoned out both Assailants, and then instead of attacking into the Jinzo and then dealing with 4 back row, I took care of the 2 Scapegoat tokens I summoned a turn ago, and then with Necro Valley on the field, I was able to flip them up to attack and brought them down to 900. And then I didn't have any other defenses, so I had to let him get had to let Jinzo kill one of my Assailants, which was fine because my turn was going to come around, and I didn't have any defensive cards. But what I did have was Mind Control, and what I was going to do was Mind Control Jinzo and just attack with Assailant for game. But I drew my turn, and then I got Snatch Steal. So I Snatch Steal first, just because on the offense he had, for some reason, didn't activate MST on my Necro Valley for whatever reason, or more likely something like Book of Moon. He was probably could have Book of Mooned it, but if that was the case, I would have activated my set Mind Control, and then that would have just won me the game same way. I would have just flipped up Jinzo, so I would be clear for the attack. And that was the game, and I'm glad I saw that last move, and I 2-0'd that game. And that's basically the tournament I played.
Yeah, congratulations again for getting first, getting the tins and the maximum gold for the prize support. So I guess the last question before we end the video is, would you change anything from the main or side? And why?
So main deck-wise, I think it's fine. I mean, if you wanted more consistency, maybe you would take out Terraforming. I don't like my body as a shield, but I think I would keep 2. As much as I hate having 2 after I lose a lot of life points and then draw this card, it's still decent against all the back row hate stuff like Mirror Force and Sakura Disarmor. But I think main deck is fine. Maybe I would have liked 2 Spear Soldier, but I don't think it's necessary going forward because the more I think about it, Assailant covered basically anything what Spear Soldier would do. So I think I'll just keep it there as an extra name. And then I think maybe the only actual monster I would probably think about taking out was Guard. He was kind of just there at times, just to be a wall. And I mean, it was good for a wall, but I think the more I think about it, this is pretty aggro, the more I look at this deck. So I don't know, maybe I'll put it in a second Kaiku. I was also wrestling the idea of a Tsukiyomi. I know it's weird because I have King Tiger, but if I only have one and I don't always run with King Tiger, it might be useful. Plus, I have the Rush Recklessly as an option if I really need to bring out the Tsukiyomi under King Tiger. So it might be worth checking out that idea. So, sidewise, I might forego the whole Zumbira thing. I might keep one just for beat stick purposes, or maybe keep both, but definitely take out the Deck Davy or maybe I'll just test a little bit more with Deck Davy. But I think if I were to take out Deck Davy, I would definitely consider running the third Curse Seal Forbidden spell. That was a really good one. And I don't know, if I want to just mess around a little bit more, I might, remove Torrential for something else, or put in a third Mind Control. Again, I don't want to deal with flips all that much, so if I was having trouble with flips, I would consider getting rid of maybe Vortex for another third Mind Control, but I think it was fine as is. And again, you could swap out Mobius for Jinzo. I don't think that's too bad. I just think it's pretty good that I could hit spell cards too if I ever need to hit stuff like, I don't know, level limit or a field spell if I don't have Necrovelli on the field already or stuff like that. The only other thing I would say is, I don't know, I might also consider running the third Dust Tornado and taking out something, but honestly, I think I have enough back row hate. And I think, for the most part, this deck served its purpose. It did what it did, and I think I'm pretty happy with the results. And obviously, those results were pretty good. I won the tournament. So I think, outside of those little things, I wouldn't change much.
Awesome. Any closing words for the viewers?
Make sure to like and subscribe to my friend D-Speech channel. He has a lot of cool stuff. He loves goats, and check out his other videos. He likes to post stuff. So, yeah, do all those things and ring the bell.
Appreciate that, Grave King. You're doing more advertising for the channel than I do. Well, you heard it here.
Advertising, man. That's how you get the views.
You heard it here first from the first place winner, folks. And we're going to go ahead and conclude this video. Again, this was Tiger Keepers, and hope you all enjoyed. Until next time, Team Illuminati.
Peace.
Signing out.